Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. I'm delighted to be here alongside Dale Nally, our Minister of Service Alberta and Red Tape Reduction, Sheila Hallett, who's Executive Director of the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council, and Jeff Casbrick, who's Vice President for Advocacy and Operations at the Alberta Motor Association. We're here today to highlight how government is continuing to protect Albertans from the worst effects of inflation. Everyone has been squeezed by the higher cost of living, but people on fixed incomes and government supports, many of whom are seniors, are especially vulnerable. In the last election, we promised to do more to help seniors to make ends meet, and we're keeping that promise. I'm pleased to announce today that starting April 1st, only a few days from today, seniors will get a 25% discount on personal registry services. Now, this includes fees for driver's licenses, vehicle registration renewals, license plates, and marriage licenses. These are unavoidable expenses, part of life for many Albertans. But seniors are the fastest growing age group in the province, and many rely on assistance to meet their basic needs, afford essential supports, and age safely in their homes. So it's more urgent than ever to provide them with relief from inflation-caused high costs of living. Every dollar they save is more money that they can use for the necessities like food and utilities and housing. And every dollar saved is extra peace of mind. These discounts are another step towards helping seniors handle their expenses, and they won't be the last ones. We have more in the works. Our goals go beyond taking away immediate financial stress. We want seniors to be healthy and happy as they enjoy an affordable and comfortable quality of life. For now, we're focused on delivering on the savings that we promised a year ago, but we'll also have more to say on those other changes soon. So to all of Alberta's seniors, the help you need is on the way, and it's going to keep on coming. So I would now like to invite Minister Dale Nally to the podium to share further details about how the discounts work and about how government is partnering with registry agents to deliver on them.
Thank you, Premier Smith. Today is a good day for Alberta and a great day for Alberta seniors. I'm pleased to be here today to provide more details about the new seniors discount. Currently in Alberta, there are more than 700,000 seniors, and that number continues to grow. By 2035, there will be more than 1 million people aged 65 and older in our province. Today is about recognizing the people who help grow this province. Alberta's government is committed to providing the supports and services that promote healthy aging. In fact, Alberta seniors with low income receive among the highest financial benefits in the country. By listening to Albertans, we can continue to make changes like the one we've announced today that make life easier and secure Alberta as the best place in Canada to live, grow, and age. Last year, Premier Smith promised to provide a 25% discount for personal registry services for seniors. When she gave me my mandate after the election, the Premier told me that getting this discount off the ground was one of my top priorities. Like our Premier, this initiative is something I'm passionate about, and I'm proud to be able to say promise made, promise kept. Seniors are pillars of their communities. Their years of hard work and contributions have helped shape Alberta into the province we're so proud of today. Not to mention the invaluable impact of the families and friendships they have built and the many lives they've touched over the years. Hearing the increasing concerns about affordability from seniors and knowing that more than 178,000 seniors in Alberta access income supports just to meet basic needs was more than enough motivation to ensure my ministry made the seniors discount a top priority. We worked closely with registry agents to develop this program, which will not only save on costs, it will help improve their lives. Because for many, these services are much more than a simple administrative transaction. A renewed license is a crucial piece of identification or an updated registration for a vehicle that provides the freedom to maintain an independent lifestyle. It gives me great pride to say on April 1st, Albertans over the age of 65 will be offered a 25% discount on a wide variety of personal registry services at Alberta Registries. This includes services like renewing licenses, vehicle registration, and disabled placards. It will also apply when seniors need to access data such as vehicle information reports and birth certificates. The discount will be applied at the time of payment, so it will be easy and simple. We made certain that the seniors discount will be applied without any burdensome forms or applications. After all, I am the minister responsible for keeping the government focused on red tape reduction, and I'm committed to making things as easy as possible to access services. It's literally my job to make things simpler and less time-consuming for Albertans. My ministry is laser-focused on making life easier for all Albertans. We recently eliminated the backlog at the Land Titles Office, and we are working to modernize the way all registry services are offered. Adding a senior's discount for personal registry services is one more step in that direction. Alberta's government will also continue to ensure these types of services remain affordable, accessible, and easy to navigate. It's one way to enable older adults to age with dignity and respect. If you'd like more information on the senior's discount, including a breakdown of eligible services, you can find the details on alberta.ca. Thank you for joining us today. I'll now hand it over to Sheila Hallett to say a few words.
Thank you, Minister. Budgeting on a fixed income is a stressful exercise for low-income seniors. Often it avoids having to make choices that have ripple effects that are detrimental to their quality of life. The 25% discount for registry services will be welcome news for thousands of Alberta seniors. Having the cost of a service be discounted instead of increased is rare, and I commend the government for making it happen. Having and operating a vehicle is something that many of us take for granted. It takes on a whole new meaning in later life, and I've often heard seniors relate it with quality of life, especially when there are not transportation options in rural and remote areas. As older adults consistently express a desire to age in their communities as long as they can, having means to connect often involves transportation. Driver license renewals and vehicle registrations are services that a large percentage of older adults use, so having a discount on the cost will be a modest relief and take some of the pressure off budgeting. Discounts to other registry services such as marriage licenses and land title searches will no doubt be appreciated by many seniors as well. I applaud Dale Nally, Minister of Service Alberta and Red Tape Reduction, and his team for finding a way to reduce the cost of licensing and registrations for Alberta seniors. I'll now hand over the platform to Jeff Casbrick, Vice President of Advocacy and Operations for Alberta Motor Association, to say a few words.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Premier, Minister, as well as Sheila. I am pleased to be here today on behalf of the Alberta Motor Association, which is a proud provider of registry services in our province. AMA got its start in 1926, and from the province's very first license plate that we sold, which was just 50 cents at that time, to the many registry services that we provide today, our story, just like Alberta's story, is one that spans generations of Albertans. Our province has been nurtured, grown, and shaped by Alberta seniors. They helped form the province we know and love today, and they continue to be pillars of our communities. And after a lifetime of hard work, they deserve to enjoy an affordable and comfortable retirement. And so, anything that we can do to support that end is a step in the right direction. Registry services touch some of life's most important moments and milestones, delivering a key service when it's needed the most. And that's why we are very proud to be delivering upon and supporting the fulfillment of this important government commitment, which will help make life more affordable for Alberta's seniors. Seniors looking for friendly support and trusted expertise can visit AMA at any one of our 17 centres across the province. They can also book an appointment to meet with us at a time that fits their schedule and their needs, or they can also visit us online. We're ready to answer any questions that they may have about registry services and about how this discount will help them save money. On behalf of AMA, a membership community of more than 1 million Albertans, we thank the government for making this registry discount possible. It's our honour and our privilege to be able to support Alberta seniors and recognize their many contributions to our province and to our communities. They've been there for Alberta, and so we're proud to be there for them. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now enter the media Q&A portion of the announcement. We'll start with questions here in the room before making our way to the phones. A reminder, one question and one follow-up, and to state your name and outlet before your question. And I'll ask for those hands in the room. We'll start with Shay, and then we'll come to Janet.
Thank you. I apologize, my question is off topic. It's for Minister Nally. Thank you so much. On the issue of life leases, I spoke with a woman today whose mother spent the last year of her life waiting for repayment of more than $300,000 from a life lease. Her daughter says learning that your government's legislation aimed at protecting life leaseholders will do nothing for her was extremely disappointing. Now, you did say today your job is to make your things simpler and easier for Albertans. What do you say to this family after their mother has now died and they've yet to see a cent?
Well, we have always said that we're going to put life lease legislation and protections in place to make sure that this never happens again, and that's what we're doing. We are unable to go back in time and rewrite contracts, but that doesn't mean that these people aren't front of mind, because they absolutely are. Conversations are happening behind the scenes, and this matter is also being investigated as well. And so there's lots that I can't comment on because of that investigation, but I can tell you that that these people are always front of mind, because this is terrible. The idea that a senior can't get their life savings back is terrible. Yeah.
And following up on that, you talked about conversations behind the scenes. The Alberta Life Lease Protection Society is taking issue with the legislation, as I'm sure you know. They want to see two main changes. One, the funds secured in a trust, and for it to be retroactive. They also say that you've grossly exaggerated or inflated your claims regarding consultation with them. And they also take issue with the fact that you've called them just a Facebook group, even though they've incorporated for months. I'm wondering, I guess, what your response is to those allegations. They essentially say you're lying, and then also if you're willing to consider the changes that they
Well, listen, if the NDP wants to put any amendments forward, we'll always look, we'll look at any thoughtful amendments and debate them in the House, and so we'll absolutely do that. There are some challenges with the idea of putting it in trust, and this actually came from the nonprofit providers of life leases, because they made it very clear to us that if there's a requirement to put this money in trust, it will take away the affordability aspect of life leases, because life leases are an affordable option for seniors. And so we didn't want to kill the affordability aspect of that industry, but we did want to protect seniors. And so we did rule out putting it in trust, but we did take a look at surety bonds, because surety bonds is a way to do that in a much more affordable way. Unfortunately, there isn't a surety bond on the market right now that applies to life leases. So we've written the life lease legislation with enough flexibility so that we can address surety bonds in regulation if a product becomes available.
How does a trust make it unaffordable? That's the thing I don't understand.
It raises the cost.
How?
Well, it just makes it more expensive, because if you restrict the options of what they can do with the money, then it just means that it increases the cost that they pass on. You only have to look to as far as Manitoba for that, because in Manitoba, life leases, which has those types of restrictions in place, life leases are not an affordability option. So in Manitoba, a life lease is a lifestyle option, and they pay market rates for those units. In Alberta, life lease holders actually pay well below market value.
But you say they, when you say they, you're referring to the operators. The operators, if the money's in trust, the operators don't have access to
Right.
money.
So that.
So that makes it more unaffordable for people that.
Well, because they have to recoup those costs from the leaseholder, and that comes in the form of higher lease payments.
Thanks, Michelle. And I want to get to each outlist first. We'll go to Jonathan next, then Charles, and we'll come back to you.
Okay, Jonathan Bradley. Me?
Yeah, go, Jonathan.
Okay, Jonathan Bradley, Western Standard. My question's for Premier Smith. So the Alberta government has received a letter about allegations of wrongdoing within the city of Edmonton. Why has the Alberta government not released this letter? I spoke with Minister McIver's team, and when I asked for the letter, request was declined.
Well, I understand the letter is written anonymously, and if you're going to make serious allegations, then and you don't know who your source is, there's a level of due diligence that has to happen to determine whether the allegations are even true. So that would be one reason. The other is that we do tend to like our municipalities to be self-governing, and if there is an issue, we think the most appropriate body to deal with it is the city solicitor. So I'll, you can maybe ask Rick McIver what he intends to do with that, but I would be inclined to defer to the city to do the investigation.
Okay, and my follow-up question is on a similar topic. So yesterday, Edmonton Mayor Emerjit Sohi downplayed the potential for provincial intervention when it comes to the city of Edmonton and its finances and misconduct and all that. What do you think about that?
We understand there's some serious issues that they're dealing with, and if if they would like our assistance in helping to manage that, then we're on standby. At the moment, they haven't asked for assistance. I've asked the Minister of Municipal Affairs to be in touch with them to see if there's anything that he needs to be aware of, or if there's anything that he can do to help. I don't believe that they've taken him up on that. So I defer to Minister of Municipal Affairs to see if he sees any reason to take it further.
Thank you.
Charles Lyle, Radio Canada, Alberta. My question is for Minister Nally. You guys mentioned higher cost of living, seniors being vulnerable. If we're giving discounts, why just 25 and not like 50% or something?
You know, we could go around all day on why we hit 25 and not 20, or 25 and not 30. Here's what we said. We know that we provide the best supports, the highest level of supports for low-income seniors in the country. In fact, we've indexed those supports because we want to continue to do so. And then now we want to provide more. And so we said, look, we're going to provide a meaningful discount. For us, 25% is a meaningful discount on personal registry services. That's one more way that we can offer affordability to Albertans, but we're not done. There's more coming. Minister LaGrange will be offering discounts on driver's medical exams, and at a later date, Minister Lowen will be offering a discount on camping fees. So again, we're doing this in stages, but you know, we want to do the best that we can to address the fact that seniors are on fixed incomes, and we want to make life more affordable.
I guess my follow-up would just be like, why now and not maybe earlier putting in these discounts?
Well, I mean, we have a process in government, and of course, the day after you're sworn in, you can't implement everything because we had to discuss and consult with the registries because they're the ones that are going to be doing this for us on our behalf. We had to put policy in place. We had to write regulations. We have a decision-making process that goes through committee and Treasury Board and Cabinet, and we had to go through that process. But we're very happy to say that we've done that heavy lifting, and come April 1, this is going to be a live discount for all seniors at registry agents, and we're very excited about that.
Thank you. We'll go to Janet.
Questions for Premier Smith. Just wanted to ask about the committee meeting you were just at. You said that you're looking at 14 different actions to take against the federal government regarding various ways you say that they're invading Alberta's jurisdiction. What are these 14 incursions, and do you mean legal actions?
Yeah, we mean legal actions. There's a few that I think you would already know. We're looking at we're going to continue to intervene on the plastics ruling, since that has to go to a higher level of government. We won the first round with them declaring it was unconstitutional at the level of the federal court. And we are seeking advice on whether we can also challenge the carbon tax, now that it's, I think, violating the spirit of what was decided in the original Supreme Court action, which was to apply a tax equally across the country to all users in all provinces. The Bloc member this morning made the point several times that they don't have a fuel tax in Quebec, and we know that home heating fuel has also been carved out. There are only 12,000 Albertans on home heating fuel, so it's quite clear that it's not going to benefit our region. It's going to be benefiting other regions. And so when you undermine the spirit behind the legislation, we think that's another one. And there's just a variety in various stages. I think we just keep adding to the list. I could perhaps get Minister Amory to talk to you about those, but those are the two that are the furthest along.
Okay, I mean, if we're talking about legal actions, though, some people might say that that's a lot of money to be paying to lawyers for actions that could be perceived as trying to score political points.
Well, the Constitution...
Why would you argue that it's a good use of public dollars?
Because the Constitution matters, and we have a federal government that doesn't believe that it matters. And if we don't stand up and defend our rights, who's going to? It is our job to make sure that when the federal government has an incursion into our area of jurisdiction, violating the highest law in the land, that we take the lead on litigating that, and we bring other partners on board with us on many of our actions. We do end up getting other interveners, but that should give you an indication of how often we think the federal government violates the spirit of the Constitution.
And what, Darcy?
Just on the carbon tax note, I know the federal government has said essentially if you don't like it, come up with your own alternative. Scott Moe has said the alternatives are too costly for Saskatchewan. What's Alberta looking at for alternatives? What's the Alberta side of that?
Well, we don't like a retail carbon tax, and the point I was making this morning is that even Stephen Guilbeault says the carbon tax is not going to show benefit until 2060. But if we want to try to be carbon neutral by 2050, there are other things we can do. So I can tell you, for instance, the Pathways Project, their plan to be carbon carbon neutral by 2050 involves carbon capture, utilization, and storage for a portion. It involves small modular nuclear to replace higher emitting fuels, and it involves direct air capture as that technology gets further developed. Same thing with the energy or the electricity sector. They're talking about not only having carbon capture, utilization, and storage, but solar and wind to offset, in addition to batteries that will be developed over time, in addition to pump storage. So those are a few of the things that are being proposed. Interties between British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba will also help have all of that electricity move around. We also launched the first commercial hydrogen fueling station yesterday. The Edmonton International Airport bought 100 Toyota Mirais. Dale Nally managed to secure 3 of those, and they have a 5,000 vehicle challenge. We are doing dual fuel vehicle or engines with the energy, or pardon me, with the transportation sector. We'd love to partner with our large municipalities in helping to build out hydrogen fueling stations so that they can use hydrogen buses. We are hoping to be able to work with British Columbia on more export of LNG and ammonia, which both will displace international emissions. Ammonia in particular is something sought after by South Korea, Japan, and India to do combined combustion in their coal plants to be able to reduce the overall emissions profile. We've invested $2.7 billion so far through Emissions Reduction Alberta to support a whole variety of pilot projects. I think we have dozens that are going to be supported for hydrogen. We've got dozens that are going to be supported for bitumen beyond combustion. We supported geothermal as well, which now has at-scale development. We also have partnered with the federal government on using our immense carbon capture reserves to support net zero petrochemicals with Dow Chemical, net zero hydrogen with Air Products, net zero cement with Heidelberg, which I believe is going to be announced shortly. Every time I go to a conference, I keep saying we're missing net zero steel. We'd love to be able to have POSCO or somebody come into our province to be able to deliver net zero steel. So those are all the things that we're doing. It's a combination of factors. It's using best available technology for carbon capture, augmenting it with lower emissions fuels, working with our partners, and then also reducing either through direct air capture as it becomes available or by doing international emissions reduction. I should say, I mean, we've done the calculation. If China alone would displace 20% of their coal fleet with clean burning natural gas, that would offset the entire emissions for Canada. So that's the reason why that kind of export approach is so powerful.
And just on the carbon tax note, it gets increased on Monday. The gas tax comes back into effect on Monday. What else is your government looking at to potentially lower that cost for Albertans other than that potential legal action that you mentioned?
Yeah, well, I mentioned as well that we have foregone $7 billion worth of revenue in order to offset the affordability crisis that we see through our affordability payments, through the $500 per household rebate for electricity, through the natural gas program that we had that gave price certainty, through the fuel tax rebate, which we took the fuel tax off for 2 years, and that alone cost us $2.3 billion. We've indexed personal income tax, which I believe leaves another $1 billion too in the pockets of individuals. We re-indexed AISH, we re-indexed seniors benefit. We provided some certainty for those who are providing disability supports, increased their contract fee from 2014 so that they could keep up with inflation. And so we've been watching to see what is happening in the marketplace. There's a few things we still have to deal with. One is the price of electricity. And my electricity minister has a plan that will stabilize electricity for all users in the long term. He'll be announcing that in the coming weeks. We also have at least stabilized the increase in prices for insurance for good drivers. So we still have more work to do there. I know that that the minister's commissioned a report on that. That's another area. And we're building more houses. If you look at our housing starts, it's quite dramatic. They've gone up about 100% compared to January last year and February last year. I can't wait to see the March statistics. And part of the reason for that is because we've challenged the municipalities to clear away some of the permits. This is something that my red tape minister feels very strongly about, and it's working. So having more housing stock come on will reduce the cost of housing as well as rental housing, as well as Seniors, Community and Social Services Minister Jason Nixon continues to expand and look at our rental support programs so that we can support people with their rent. So there's a whole variety of things that we're doing. And if oil prices continue to trend above $80, then the 4-cent a liter tax will come off again. If it trends above $90, then we'll take it off completely. And I mentioned to the cabinet or the committee today that I spoke with is that if they want to structure their program exactly like ours, so that if it gets above $90, they take the carbon tax off completely, we would be delighted to see them do that. The carbon tax is going to be 17 cents. Their federal fuel tax is another 10 cents. And then the GST that they charge on a typical fill-up would be another 7 cents. So we're charging 13 cents to be able to pay for roads. They're charging 35 cents. We have a reprieve program where it would be taken off completely. They don't. So those are the things that we would hope the federal government would respond to.
Thank you. We have time for a few more questions. We're just going to go to the phones first. I'll come back to you last, Catherine. Operator, could you put through the first caller on the phones, please?
Chris Barco, Calgary Herald.
Hi, this is a question for the Premier. Premier, you appeared today at the Parliamentary Committee to talk about the carbon tax, and in the 1 hour of the discussion veered into topics around LNG, pulling out of the CPP, forest fires, agriculture practices, Alberta's Sovereignty Act, the Renewable Pause, and healthcare. What did you make of it? And I guess, more importantly, what did you accomplish?
Well, I was disappointed to see the number of points of order that were called on the two previous speakers, Scott Moe and Blaine Higgs, and I'm glad they got that out of the way so that we could have a broader discussion. What I would make of it is that the MPs don't really know very much at all about what any of the provinces are doing to reduce emissions. They have a number of preconceived notions, thinking that the only solution is to put a retail carbon tax on people, which is, in our view, a punishing tax that doesn't achieve the outcome. They'd be far better partnering with us on the things that we know will achieve outcomes, like building out the hydrogen infrastructure, like helping us with small modular reactors, like supporting us in carbon capture and net zero projects. So hopefully there was a bit of an education that happened there, that they have a notion that emissions reduction can only happen one way. And I think this is the reason why the premiers wanted to come forward, is because each of us have our own different way that we're achieving a 2050 target.
Just to follow up, you talked about Alberta's climate plan. Can you tell us what is the status of the sectoral tables? And do you expect to have an interim target on emissions reductions in Alberta that will take place sometime between now and 2050?
I can tell you I'm not keen to do an interim target. And the reason for that is that some of our projects are going to be net zero the minute they're established. So Air Products, when it's done, I believe, in 2026, Dow Chemical, when it's done in 2028, and Heidelberg, again, done before the end of the 20s, they're going to be net zero immediately. Same with the Inter pipeline, which is building out ammonia. They're going to capture the CO2, bury it, and then export ammonia internationally if we can get that to market. That's a net zero project immediately. So I prefer to look at the big industrial operations and ask each of them, what is your pathway to get to net zero by 2050? And for us to be marking the guideposts with them along the way, because it's going to be different for every industrial operation. I don't know that averages or arbitrary targets are all that meaningful, but we do want to see progress. And I'm pleased to see that there's so many industrial operations in Alberta that have set those aggressive targets, and some are going to reach them a lot faster than people expect.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Operator, can you put through our next caller, please?
Alexander Dewally, Rebel News.
Thank you for taking my questions, Premier. First, I'd like to ask on the Calgary Chamber of Commerce came out yesterday against Ottawa's emission cap on oil and gas, claiming it would compromise the valuation and sale of the $34 billion Trans Mountain pipeline. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland previously said her government intends to sell the pipeline, although Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault does not appear to be on the same page. Would the UCP incentivize a private attempt to buy Trans Mountain, and if so, what form does that take? Does it take the form of a loan or a royalty tax rate?
Well, what we have told the federal minister that we're prepared to do is to assist with providing a loan guarantee to First Nations, who I think the first key is to make sure that there's a significant First Nations ownership of that pipeline. Whether it's 10% or 20% or 30%, I'm not sure what they'll get to. But as you saw, we increased our loan guarantee provision from $1 billion to $2 billion, and now it's $3 billion this year, with that in mind, that we may be asked to assist in getting that into the hands of our First Nations partners. And once that occurs, then I believe it will be a lot more attractive for other companies to take an equity stake in it. So I'm not that concerned about it being able to get into private hands. I know the federal government's highly motivated, and I think that the private sector partners understand that it is still, when you look at a 20 or even a 40 or 50-year time horizon, it's still a very good investment. But there is no question that an emissions cap, the way it's being proposed, is and the speed with which it's being proposed is actually a production cap. And we have seen analysis that suggests that it would result in the shut-in of 1.2 million barrels a day of production by 2030, which is self-defeating. It seems to me that we should be looking at other ways to reduce emissions and be the best barrel on the market. And if there is a last barrel on the market, it should be a Canadian barrel. It should be an Alberta barrel. So we've made that case to the federal government. We're going to continue to make that case. And that would be another example of something that is ripe for a constitutional challenge if they do go down that path.
And as a follow-up question, Premier, the inherent unfairness of the federal carbon tax regime is well documented. For example, Ottawa afforded Quebec a special deal on the tax, while maritime households get a carve-out on home heating oil. Do you believe the federal government's end goal is to bring Alberta's economy to its knees, as they have not promised?
I don't know if they have really thought about the impact of what they've done. I guess I want to be generous. I think they're just thinking politically. They're struggling in Atlantic Canada, and they thought, well, what's the best way for us to try to win some of that support back? And so they came through with an arbitrary change that disproportionately impacts areas where people tend to vote Liberal, which is not a great way to pass policy. So if you're going to assert the case that you need to have national jurisdiction, then you need to apply the rules fairly across the board. So that's the point that we're making. It's a point that Scott Moe has made, and it's again an area where I'm seeking guidance on whether we can make a constitutional challenge on that as well.
Thanks, Alex. We have time for one last question today. We'll come back to the room. Catherine, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things, Premier, that you were asked at the committee was the price per ton in reduction, and you mentioned small modular reactors as being part of this. What kind of economic analysis have you done? What's the idea behind financing this? Is this small SMR is going to be solely private? Is some of it going to come from the tier fund? Are you looking at Crown corporations for nuclear?
We thought we might have to de-risk it through a Crown corporation, which is part of the reason why we established a structure to be the generator of last resort, let's call it that. But we've been pleased to see that there are a number of communities that have come forward saying that they want to have a site of a small modular reactor. We know that Saskatchewan's very keen because they have uranium, and so they're quite keen to work with us on establishing a project as well. The Capital Power has signed a deal with OPG on looking at how they might bring small modular reactors. So it may well be that we don't have to step in. We far prefer the private sector to be able to make these decisions. So that we don't have to have taxpayers potentially on the hook for it, and we don't want to interfere in the market if we don't need to. The problem with small modular nuclear is, though, the time frame for how long it takes to get the projects completed, affirmed in the regulatory environment. And even Capital Power in their plan, and I believe the Pathways Group has suggested that it's not likely that they could be rolled out until about 2035. So that's why the federal targets are a miss compared to where we want to get to, which is 2050. But from what I'm seeing so far, there's a lot of appetite for us to finally look at exploring small modular reactors. If you may want to talk to Minister Neudorf about the cost on that, because I'm trying to go from memory about how much it costs for the small, because they're about, I think, 300 to 400 megawatts each typically is the size, and then you can put a number co-located on an individual site and get to be quite significant. But he'll have a better idea of what the numbers look like there. But it'd be nice if the private sector was willing to go forward with that. When there has been nuclear proposed in the past, they have talked about it being in the 9 to 11 cent a kilowatt hour range. And so that may well be the the range that we're looking at for these new products. But our job is to make sure that we can try to accelerate the regulatory approval process and maybe get them on stream faster.
Okay, and then a question on today's announcement. This is billed as an affordability measure, but it's not income tested for low-income seniors. There's people on fixed income, such as income support, who aren't getting this. There's seniors who have a hefty retirement savings who are doing okay for themselves. So why not have that income testing?
We had that conversation for sure, but we didn't campaign on income testing it. And it also comes down to the fact that we wanted to recognize the role that seniors play in our province and of growing this province. And we just didn't want to income test this, not for seniors. We appreciate that the work that they've done in providing for the Alberta Advantage, and we wanted every senior to be able to benefit from this discount. That was important to us.
Thank you, and that'll conclude today's announcement. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.